The stars above Earth were silent. What once glowed with the traffic of human ships now lay empty and dark. Earth, the home of humanity, the blue planet that had sent explorers to every corner of the galaxy, was quiet for the first time in centuries. The Galactic Alliance had declared victory. The alien leaders spoke proudly from their shining cities, announcing that the age of humanity was over. To them, the humans were a small emotional species that had reached too far and too fast. They believed that humanity's courage was foolish, their hope was weakness, and their persistence was only delay. But beneath the clouds of smoke and silence, deep under the ruined cities, something still moved. Humanity was not gone, not yet. Captain Mira Solon sat inside an underground command room, once part of a subway system below London. The lights flickered as power came from old generators humming softly. Around her were a few dozen people, scientists, engineers, and officers working quietly. Their faces were tired, but their eyes were sharp. Mira looked at a cracked monitor showing the Alliance's message. Humanity's surrender is complete. Earth is now under protection of the Galactic Council. Protection. The word made her chest tighten. They think we've surrendered, she said softly. Beside her, Dr. Kaito Ren, a thin man with silver glasses, adjusted his datapad. Maybe that's good, he replied. If they believe it's over, they'll stop watching us so closely. Mira turned toward him. You really think we can come back from this? Kaito smiled faintly. We're humans, Captain. We've come back from worse. Remember when we first went to Mars? Everyone said it was impossible. And yet here we are, talking about rebuilding after an alien invasion. The captain gave a small, tired laugh. You make it sound simple. It never is, he said. But simplicity isn't our way. Persistence is. The room fell silent again, except for the quiet hum of old machines. Far above, on the surface, cities stood half-broken, but strangely peaceful. The Alliance had taken what they wanted: technology, resources, and control. They didn't destroy everything. They simply took command. To them, humanity was finished, a species ready to be guided into obedience. But they didn't understand the human heart. In the shadows of the old cities, families still whispered stories of freedom. Old soldiers taught children how to survive without systems. Scientists carried small drives of data hidden in simple objects: keys, watches, rings, waiting for a time to rebuild. In one of the underground tunnels, a young technician named Leo worked beside Captain Mira. He was only 20, a boy when the war started. His eyes were full of questions. Captain, he asked one day, why do we keep fighting? We've lost everything. Mira looked at him for a long moment. Because losing everything doesn't mean we are nothing, she said. We are more than our cities, our ships, or our flags. We are the idea that no wall is too high, no end is final. That's who we are. Leo nodded slowly, the words settling in his heart like a spark. Days passed in the underground base. People worked in shifts, repairing old drones, building small transmitters, and collecting any scrap of knowledge left from before the fall. Communication across the planet was risky, but Mira had created a secret network, the Echo Line. Through coded radio waves, they could reach other survivors hidden in mountains, deserts, or deep sea labs. One night, the Echo Line came alive. A faint message appeared on the screen. This is Haven Base, survivors confirmed in North America. 312 people alive. We will not fade. The room erupted with emotion. People smiled for the first time in weeks. Mira's eyes shone. We're not alone, she whispered. The hope spread like fire through the underground. More signals followed from Africa, Asia, and even the orbiting ruins of old space stations. Small groups of humans still lived, still fought quietly, still believed. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, the alien leaders discussed the human situation. Admiral Vorthol of the Alliance stared at holographic reports. The humans have not accepted full compliance, he said in his low, echoing voice. We keep finding hidden messages and energy spikes on their planet. Ambassador Thera, a tall being with silver eyes, waved her hand dismissively. They are emotional creatures. They send messages because they miss each other. It means nothing. But another voice, older, wiser, spoke from the shadows. It belonged to Scholar Ren, one of the few aliens who had studied humanity closely. You underestimate them, he said. Humans do not stop. They bend, they break, and then they rise again. You think you've won, but I've seen this pattern before. Their silence means they're planning. The others laughed softly, but the scholar's eyes remained serious. Back on Earth, the human survivors continued their quiet work. Dr. Kaito managed to restore an ancient AI network buried under Antarctica. It was called Athena. The AI had been built to guide space travel but now became something else, a silent partner in humanity's hidden revival. Athena's voice was calm, almost human. Captain Mira, my memory archives confirm data on the Alliance's technology. I can help you create countersystems. Mira leaned closer to the monitor. You can help us fight back? Not yet, the AI replied, but I can help you learn. And so learning began again. Weeks turned into months. The underground bases grew more connected. Humans shared what they had: food, energy cells, data. They created secret routes through old tunnels and even underwater cables that the aliens could not detect. Children were taught history not as tragedy but as strength. They learned about the great explorers, the inventors, the dreamers, the people who had always turned loss into growth. Leo became one of the first to build a working scout drone from scrap. When it flew above the city for the first time, everyone gathered to watch the small silver shape disappear into the night sky. It was a simple machine, but it felt like the first breath of freedom. When the drone returned, it carried data, images of alien patrols, maps of safe zones, and something unexpected, a recording of an alien ship leaving Earth orbit. The aliens were moving away. They're leaving? Leo asked. Some of them, Mira said, studying the data. They think we're no threat. They're pulling back their main fleets. That means they believe they've won completely. Kaito smiled faintly. That's exactly what we needed. What do you mean? Mira asked. He looked around the room at all the faces waiting for hope. It means they've given us time. For the first time since the fall, the underground base was filled with quiet laughter. The people worked harder, faster, stronger. Every day they remembered who they were. Not victims, but survivors. At night, when Mira walked through the sleeping quarters, she listened to the soft hum of machines and the steady breathing of her people. Each person here carried a dream, of blue skies, of ships in the stars, of freedom once again. She paused at a small window that looked up through the broken ceiling. Far above, she could see one bright star, Mars, where the first human colonists had once walked. We came from nothing once, she whispered to herself. We can do it again. And somewhere, deep in the cold data streams of Athena's mind, the AI whispered back almost like a promise. The tide always turns, Captain. It's only a matter of time. The years after the fall were quiet, but beneath the silence, life began to stir again. Earth had become a shadow of its former self. Yet deep underground, far from the eyes of the Galactic Alliance, the human spirit was still burning. Captain Mira Solon stood on the edge of a large underground chamber lit by soft blue lights. The place was called Haven 1, humanity's first true hidden base. Once an old mining facility, it had been rebuilt with careful hands and clever minds. Power lines hummed softly. Recycled air whispered through the vents, and the faint sound of tools echoed through the tunnels. It wasn't much, but it was alive. Dr. Kaito Ren walked beside her, holding a digital pad filled with schematics. The new generators are online, he said with quiet pride. We've managed to use old satellite cores to boost our energy. We'll have full power by next month. Mira nodded. Good. Every light we turn on is a sign we haven't given up. Kaito smiled faintly. You sound like a leader, Captain. I'm just keeping the lights on, she replied. The real leaders are the people who refuse to stop working. All around them, small teams were building new devices, tiny drones, communication relays, and portable habitats. The humans were few, but their creativity was vast. Every broken machine became a resource. Every piece of metal a new tool. At the heart of the base was Athena, the AI that had survived the fall. Her voice, soft and calm, often filled the room as she guided the humans through technical challenges. Captain Mira, Athena said through the intercom, I have finished decoding the Alliance's power systems. Their reactors depend on stable plasma flows. I can simulate a smaller version that humans can replicate. That could change everything, Kaito said, his eyes lighting up. Mira looked up at the speaker. Do it, but keep it offline. We can't risk the Alliance detecting the energy signature. Understood, Athena replied. The humans worked like quiet shadows. They knew that if they were discovered, their fragile hope could vanish overnight. But they also knew that waiting forever was not an option. They had to prepare, to build, to rise again, step by step. Outside the Earth's orbit, alien patrol ships still watched. The Galactic Alliance had placed satellites and sensors across the planet. But after years of silence, their vigilance had faded. The humans seemed harmless now, too broken, too few, too small to matter. That was their mistake. The spark of innovation, Leo, the young technician who had once asked Mira why they kept fighting, was now one of Haven One's most promising engineers. He worked tirelessly in a small workshop, surrounded by scattered tools and glowing monitors. His newest project was called Project Ember, a microdrive that could power small ships using recycled fusion cores. It was the first step toward flight again. When Mira came to visit, she found him staring at the humming device. "Still awake?" she asked with a soft smile. Leo looked up, eyes bright. "Captain, it works. I ran the test twice. We could use this to power a scout ship, maybe even reach orbit." Mira stepped closer. The machine was small enough to fit in her hands, yet its glow was steady and strong. "You've done something incredible, Leo." He grinned shyly. "It's just a start. But maybe it's the start we need." Mira placed a hand on his shoulder. "Keep this up and one day we'll fly again." That night, the base was filled with quiet celebration. They didn't shout or cheer loudly, sound could travel, but the warmth in their eyes said everything. For the first time in years, they believed they could take back the stars. Reaching beyond Earth, months passed, and Haven 1 grew into a network. Using old communication satellites and hidden transmitters, the Echo Line connected more survivor groups across the world. Messages came in from every continent: scientists in South America, farmers in Africa, engineers in Asia, miners in Australia. Each group had its own small base, but they all shared one goal: rebuild humanity from the ground up. One night, the Echo Line flickered to life with an urgent signal. It came from a deep-sea lab in the Pacific Ocean known as Coral Station. The message was simple: "We have found it." The orbit beacon survived. Mira stared at the screen, her heart pounding. The orbit beacon was a forgotten piece of technology, a relay satellite built before the war, capable of connecting directly to ships beyond Earth's orbit. If it still worked, they could send messages into space again. Dr. Kaito leaned forward. "If we can reach the beacon, we can contact the colonies on Mars or the lunar base. There might be survivors up there too." Mira nodded slowly. "Then we'll go get it." Leo, listening nearby, spoke up. "But Captain, we don't have a ship that can reach orbit." "Not yet," Mira said, smiling slightly. "But you're building one, aren't you?" Leo blinked in surprise. Then his smile grew wider. "I'll make it ready." The first flight weeks later, the entire base gathered in the underground hangar, a vast room that once stored mining equipment. In the center stood a small ship, patched together from old escape pods and shuttle remains. Its name was painted on the side in bright blue letters: Phoenix. It wasn't large and it wasn't perfect, but it was human. Leo stood beside the ship, checking every wire and joint. Mira approached, dressed in a simple flight suit. "Are you sure she can fly?" she asked. "She's not fast," Leo admitted, "but she's strong, and she'll get you there," Mira smiled. "Then let's see if humanity still remembers how to reach the stars." The launch tunnel was narrow, built into an old volcano shaft. As the engines warmed up, the base grew silent. Everyone watched as the Phoenix came to life. "Engines online," Athena's voice announced. "Atmospheric pressure stable." "Ready for launch." Mira took a deep breath. "Let's bring back the light." The ship lifted slowly, shaking dust from the tunnel walls. A moment later, with a burst of energy, it soared upward, through stone, through cloud, into the endless black of space. The people below cheered softly, tears in their eyes. For the first time in years, a human ship had left Earth. A message in the stars. The Phoenix broke through orbit, and the view was breathtaking. Below, Earth glowed like a blue gem, scarred but beautiful. Above, the stars stretched endlessly. Mira felt her chest tighten, not in fear but in wonder. "Athena," she said over the comm, "locate the orbit beacon." "Signal detected," Athena replied. "Distance 800 kilometers. Adjusting course." As the ship approached the beacon, Mira saw the damage. The satellite was old and half broken, floating silently. yet a small light still blinked on its side. She extended the ship's arm and connected the data cable. "Let's see if you're still alive, old friend," she whispered. A few moments later, her screen came alive with static, then clear text. "Connection established. Destination available, Mars colony, lunar outpost." Mira felt a rush of emotion. They had done it. Humanity could reach the stars again. "Send the message," she said. Athena's voice carried through the system. "Message ready," Mira spoke slowly, clearly. "This is Captain Mira Solon of Earth. Humanity is alive. We will rise again. If anyone hears this, come home." The message repeated, sent again and again into the dark. Somewhere far beyond, someone might hear it. When Mira returned to Earth, the Phoenix landed safely in the underground bay. The people gathered around her, faces full of hope. Leo ran forward, unable to hide his excitement. "Did it work?" Mira smiled, holding up the data chip that carried the message log. "It worked. The beacon is active." The crowd erupted in quiet joy. Even Kaito, always calm, couldn't help but laugh. "You've just told the universe we're still here," he said. Mira looked around at all of them. Humans of every background, every age, all standing together in the glow of hope. "They thought we were finished," she said softly. "But they were wrong. We are the hidden flame, and we're burning brighter every day." Far across the stars, on a quiet base orbiting Mars, a small receiver blinked for the first time in years. A young technician there leaned closer to the console. "Sir," she whispered, "we're getting a transmission from Earth." The commander turned slowly, disbelief on his face. "Play it," he said. And as the voice of Captain Mira Solon echoed through the station, the Martian colonists stared at each other in stunned silence, then in awe. Humanity had spoken again. The message from Earth changed everything. For years, the colonies on Mars and the Moon had believed that humanity on Earth was gone forever. They had lived in silence, surviving on limited supplies, watching the stars and wondering if their home was lost. But now that single transmission, Captain Mira Solon's calm and steady voice, ignited a spark of hope that spread faster than light. On Mars base horizon, Commander Elias Trent stared at the glowing message on his screen. "Humanity is alive. We will rise again. If anyone hears this, come home." He read the words again and again, barely believing them. Around him, his crew gathered, whispering, eyes wide. A young officer asked, "Is it real? Could someone be faking it?" Elias shook his head slowly. "No, that's a human signal. Real, pure Earth code. No one else could make it." He stood straight and looked around the room. "Prepare the relay network. We're answering that call." The echo expands back on Earth. Inside Haven 1, Captain Mira waited. Days passed after she sent the message, and still no answer came. People worked as usual, but everyone's hearts carried the same quiet question. Would anyone hear them? Then one morning, as the sun rose above the gray clouds, Athena's calm voice echoed through the base. "Captain Mira, we are receiving a transmission. From Mars." Mira froze. Everyone in the command room stopped working. The screen flickered and a message appeared. "To Captain Mira Solon of Earth. This is Commander Elias Trent of Mars Base Horizon. We hear you. Humanity lives among the stars. You are not alone." The room filled with cheers, quiet but powerful. Tears ran down faces. People hugged each other, some laughing, some unable to speak. Dr. Kaito smiled warmly. "We've just lit the galaxy, Captain." Mira nodded, her voice soft but firm. "Now we build the fire." From that moment, the scattered remnants of humanity began to reconnect. The Martian colonists sent data, designs, and encouragement. The lunar engineers shared blueprints for solar arrays and portable habitats. Even small asteroid mining stations joined the network, forming what came to be known as the Human Rebirth Network. It was still fragile, quiet, hidden and slow, but it was alive. Operation Starseed months later, the first real plan was born. They called it Operation Starseed. Its purpose was simple but daring: to send small, self-guided human probes into Alliance-controlled space to spread signals of humanity's survival. "We won't fight with weapons," Mira told her team. "We'll fight with truth. Let them see that we are still here, still learning, still growing." Leo worked tirelessly to design the small probes. Each one was no larger than a suitcase, but inside were powerful transmitters and messages encoded in hundreds of languages. Dr. Kaito and Athena programmed them with peaceful data: music, art, mathematics, history. It was not a challenge of war, but a message of life. When the day came to launch, everyone gathered in the underground hangar again. There were 10 probes, each with a single purpose: to remind the galaxy that humanity had not fallen. Mira stood before her people. We may be few and we may be hidden, but remember this: a single spark can light 1,000 stars. Today we send those sparks. As the countdown began, soft blue lights glowed across the launch bay. One by one, the probes shot upward through hidden tunnels, breaking into the sky like tiny comets. Athena's voice filled the room. Launch successful. All units stable. Trajectories confirmed. The crowd applauded quietly, their hearts filled with pride. Far beyond Earth, the probes spread out, toward the colonies, toward neutral zones, and even toward the borders of the Galactic Alliance. Reactions across the stars. Weeks later, strange things began to happen across the galaxy. In the markets of the planet Terrene, traders found glowing spheres floating down from the sky, playing soft human music. On the mining moons of the Vokar system, workers discovered holograms showing pictures of blue oceans and green forests, images of Earth. The Galactic Alliance tried to control the information, but it spread faster than they could stop it. Curious minds everywhere began to ask the same question: weren't humans defeated? In a silver council hall on the planet Avara, the alien leaders gathered once again. Admiral Vorthul stood tall, his voice echoing through the chamber. The humans are sending messages again. How? We silenced their world. Ambassador Thera frowned. Perhaps a few survivors escaped. They can do little harm. But Scholar and Ren, the old alien who had warned them before, leaned forward. His voice was calm but serious. This is no accident. This is organized, you see? Their strength is not in numbers or power. It is in persistence. They will keep rising no matter how often they fall. The others exchanged uneasy looks. The hidden fleet back on Earth, the humans continued to rebuild in secret. Leo's success with the probes inspired new projects. Using resources from old orbital debris and guidance from Mars engineers, the humans began to design small stealth ships. They called them Fireflies, tiny, fast vessels made to travel unseen through space. They were not built for war, but for exploration, rescue, and communication. Mira watched as the first Firefly was tested. Its silver body shimmered under the hangar lights and its engines glowed softly. How many can we make? She asked. Kaito replied, not many yet. But with the new reactor design from Athena, we could double production within a year. Mira nodded. Good. We need eyes and ears in every corner of space. Soon, small Firefly ships were flying silently across the solar system, carrying data, supplies, and messages. They became the lifeline of the human rebirth network. One of the ships, Firefly 03, carried a young pilot named Tessa Grant. Her mission was to reach the outer belt and find lost colonies that had gone silent years ago. As she flew past the rings of Saturn, she recorded a simple message. If anyone finds this, remember, we're coming back. The stars still belong to us. The first Alliance contact, it was during one of these quiet missions that the unexpected happened. A Firefly ship near Jupiter detected another vessel on the radar, a small alien patrol craft. The human ship's crew froze. Discovery could mean the end of everything, but the alien ship didn't open fire. Instead, it broadcast a strange signal. We received your message. Is it true? Are humans alive? Mira, receiving the report from Haven 1, stood silent for a long time. Then she said softly, answer them. The reply went out, yes, we live. We rebuild. We seek peace. The alien ship stayed still for several minutes. Then it responded, I believe you. I will not report this. The connection ended. That small moment, an alien choosing silence, was the first quiet sign that humanity's persistence was beginning to change minds. Not through fear, but through respect. Sparks Become Flames months turned into a year. Across the galaxy, human signals continued to appear. Art, stories, and music from Earth were shared secretly between species. The Galactic Alliance tried to block them, but curiosity could not be stopped. On Earth, Mira watched as new cities began to rise in hidden valleys. Solar towers powered the underground networks, and greenhouses bloomed once again. Children played in safe tunnels, learning about both the past and the stars that waited for them. One evening, Leo joined Mira on the surface. standing on a hill overlooking the faint lights of the rebuilt camp. The sky above them was full of stars. "We're really doing it," he said quietly. "We're coming back," Mira smiled. "Not just back. We're moving forward," he looked up at her. "Do you think the aliens will ever understand us?" She thought for a moment. "One day, yes. Because the more they watch us, the more they'll see who we truly are. Not destroyers, but dreamers. And dreams can't be defeated." As they stood there, a bright streak of light crossed the sky, a firefly ship leaving Earth's atmosphere. Leo pointed. "Another spark," Mira nodded. "Yes, and soon the darkness won't be able to hide them anymore." Far above, in the silent reaches of space, the firefly ships glowed faintly like stars, tiny, brave, unstoppable. Humanity had become what it always was meant to be, a light that never goes out. The galaxy had begun to notice the humans again. What started as small sparks in hidden corners had grown into faint flames impossible to ignore. The Galactic Alliance could no longer dismiss humanity as weak or defeated. The humans were learning, exploring, and communicating across the stars, and doing so quietly, wisely, and with purpose. Captain Mira Solon stood in the command chamber of Haven 1, surrounded by maps, datapads, and models of star systems. The humans had grown in secret, small fleets of firefly ships, networks of hidden bases, and colonies that had survived the initial fall now contributed knowledge and resources. Dr. Kaito Ren adjusted a holographic display. "We've confirmed signals from nearly 40 human bases now. The colonies on Mars and the Moon are fully active. Our firefly ships have reached the outer asteroid belts, and we're detecting a response from neutral systems in the galaxy. Curiosity is growing. Many species want to see the humans' next move." Mira leaned on the table. "We've been careful, quiet, and clever. Now it's time to take the next step." Leo, who had grown from a young technician to a brilliant engineer, nodded. "The fireflies are ready. We can send coordinated missions, not to fight but to show that humanity can operate openly, intelligently, and peacefully across multiple star systems." Mira smiled. "Then we begin Operation Radiant Tide." Planning the counteroffensive Operation Radiant Tide was not about attacking the Alliance. It was about reclaiming the stars with intelligence, creativity, and collaboration. Humans would demonstrate their capabilities, not with force but with skill and vision. The first step was resource coordination. Hidden colonies shared data, designs, and strategies for rebuilding abandoned stations, repairing satellites, and launching small crafts. Every system humans reclaimed quietly became a hub of communication, science, and life. Dr. Kaito worked alongside Athena to develop new stealth technologies. "We're not hiding to fight," he explained to Mira. "We hide to observe. We learn their movements, their routines. Then we use knowledge, not destruction, to move forward." Mira nodded. "And while we're learning, we grow stronger. Every discovery, every connection, every project builds momentum." Leo added, "Our drones can gather information faster than any alien scout. And the fireflies can transport supplies, messages, and even small teams. Soon we'll be everywhere quietly, efficiently, and cleverly." First human initiative. The first major initiative under Radiant Tide was Project Unity. It aimed to connect multiple human colonies into one cooperative network. Engineers from Mars worked with technicians on Earth, while lunar scientists shared solar power strategies. Supplies were sent quietly through asteroid corridors and hidden routes. Children and young adults were taught in underground academies about history, science, and the stars. They learned not only the past but the ways humans had survived and thrived under impossible circumstances. These children became the new generation of explorers and thinkers, quietly training to rebuild humanity's reach. Mira watched one day as a class of children worked on small propulsion units for the fireflies. Their laughter filled the tunnels, a sound that had been missing for too long. "One day they'll be ready for the stars," Mira said softly. Dr. Kaito placed a hand on her shoulder. "They already are. They just don't know it yet." Sparks become action. Months later, the humans launched their first coordinated missions beyond the solar system. Firefly ships moved silently, delivering messages of peace, technology, and culture to nearby neutral planets. Libraries of human knowledge, recordings of Earth's music and art, and even simple tools and devices were shared. Every human action was designed to show capability without aggression, intelligence without arrogance, and life without destruction. They demonstrated that humans could create, solve, and cooperate even in the most difficult situations. Across the galaxy, other species noticed. Many were skeptical, but curiosity took hold. A small neutral planet, Balara, responded first. Its leaders invited human envoys to share knowledge and technology. When the humans arrived, they were careful, respectful, and helpful. Word of the humans' competence spread quickly. Soon, planets that had once doubted humanity began to seek collaboration. What the Galactic Alliance had tried to silence now became a symbol of ingenuity and hope. The Alliance realizes the threat in the Council Hall on Avara. Alien leaders gathered once more. This time their voices were less confident. Admiral Vorthul frowned as he reviewed reports. Humans are moving through our space. They are not attacking, yet we see influence growing. Their networks are clever, their technology adaptive. How is this possible? Ambassador Thera shook her head. They are patient, yes, but still insignificant. Numbers matter more than cleverness. Surely they cannot expand without us noticing. Scholar and Wren sighed, watching the data streams. You misunderstand them, as always. Humans do not depend on size alone. They adapt, cooperate, and innovate. They take what is lost and turn it into advantage. They are quiet storms, but storms nonetheless. The Alien Council could no longer dismiss humanity. The humans were not a threat in the sense of destruction, but they were a threat in the sense of influence, knowledge, and unity. A human victory. The first human victory under Operation Radiant Tide was quiet but significant. The colony on Ceres had been abandoned for years. Its solar arrays were failing, and its mining equipment was inactive. A small team of Firefly pilots, engineers, and scientists arrived under stealth. Using only their skills and intelligence, they repaired the solar systems, restarted communication, and restored habitat modules. Within weeks, the colony was fully functional and sent out messages celebrating the human return. No fight had occurred. No one was harmed. Yet the impact was immense. Across the nearby systems, aliens and humans alike noticed that humanity was rising. Not with war, but with wisdom. Mira received the first reports and smiled. See, she said to Leo, we don't need force to reclaim the stars. We just need patience, intelligence, and cooperation. Leo nodded. It's like a ripple in the water. One quiet action spreads far. Yes, Mira said. And soon the ripples will become a tide. Building alliances. The next phase of Radiant Tide was forming alliances. Many neutral species approached humans, impressed by their ingenuity, honesty, and careful approach. Humans shared technology, helped repair systems, and taught problem-solving techniques. The Galactic Alliance, observing from afar, began to grow uneasy. Their spies and sensors could not measure human influence in conventional ways. There was no fleet to destroy, no weapons to track, only knowledge, cooperation, and ideas spreading like wildfire. Scholar and Wren warned the Council again. You cannot stop them. They grow not through destruction but through collaboration. The galaxy will remember this moment. Humans are returning, and they will be impossible to ignore. Preparing for the next step back on Earth, Haven 1 became the hub of human strategy. The underground bases were connected through encrypted networks, sharing designs, knowledge, and updates from the colonies. Athena processed the data, providing simulations for efficient growth. Mira stood in the command room looking at the holographic display of human activity across the galaxy. Every spark of action, every new colony network, every message sent quietly to neutral planets was a step toward reclaiming their place in the stars. This is only the beginning, Mira said to Kaito and Leo. The galaxy is watching. Soon they will see that humans are not just survivors. We are creators, thinkers, and problem solvers, and we are united. Leo leaned over the display, pointing to a cluster of signals in the outer systems. They're starting to reach the edge of the Alliance territory. They've noticed our work, and they can't stop it, Mira nodded. Exactly. Let the Alliance see what patience, intelligence, and heart can do. They've underestimated us for too long. Now it's time to show them what humanity really is. A quiet triumph in the following months, human influence spread quietly but powerfully. Colonies flourished, fireflies moved with skill and purpose, and neutral species began to admire and collaborate with the humans. Each step was a triumph, small, peaceful, and intelligent, but together, These victories created momentum that the Alliance could not contain. Mira walked through the main chamber of Haven 1 one night, looking at her team. They were tired, but their eyes burned with purpose. "Remember this," she said softly. "Every quiet action, every thoughtful decision, every cooperative effort is a victory. We don't need war to win. We need persistence, cleverness, and unity, and with that the tide will turn." Outside, the stars shone silently, watching humanity's rise. Small fireflies streaked through space, carrying the message of life, hope, and intelligence. Humanity's spark had become a flame, and the galaxy would not soon forget it. The galaxy had changed. No longer were humans the defeated species hiding beneath the ashes of their planet. The quiet sparks of Earth had grown into flames, and those flames had traveled across the stars. From the moon to Mars, from the asteroid belts to distant neutral worlds, humans had made themselves known, not through force but through wisdom, creativity, and unwavering determination. Captain Mira Solon stood in the command chamber of Haven 1, watching the holographic displays of human colonies and fleets. Each blinking dot represented lives restored, networks rebuilt, and hope reborn. The galaxy had begun to listen. Dr. Kaido Ren stood beside her, adjusting the displays to show activity beyond the solar system. "The Alliance is still cautious," he said, "but they're no longer ignoring us. Neutral species are siding with humanity, and our influence continues to grow. The tide has truly turned." Mira's eyes swept across the map. "We've done it," she said softly. "We've reminded the galaxy what humanity can achieve. A new age of diplomacy. The first major achievement of the turning tide was diplomacy. Rather than rushing into conflict, humans extended hands of friendship and collaboration to those who had observed them from afar." On Balara, a neutral planet known for its advanced technologies, human envoys arrived carrying data, art, and agricultural solutions. Their goal was simple: cooperation, not conquest. The Balaran leaders were cautious at first, but when they saw the careful, thoughtful humans at work, they began to admire them. Within weeks, Balara became the first full ally of humanity after the fall, offering technology, communication support, and safe passages for human ships across their space. "See?" Mira said, watching the reports from the envoys. "We don't need weapons to reclaim respect. We need intelligence, integrity, and courage." Dr. Kaido nodded. "They respect us because we've shown them what we can do when we are united. That's the most powerful weapon humans have." Rebuilding the colonies, the lunar colonies and Martian settlements became the next focus. Firefly fleets traveled back and forth delivering supplies, machinery, and knowledge. Human engineers repaired stations damaged during the war. While scientists rebuilt laboratories and education centers, children once hidden in underground bunkers now ran through open corridors, learning not just survival skills, but math, science, music, and history. They were the living proof that humanity had endured and was ready to thrive again. Leo oversaw the construction of new ships and communication satellites. "It's amazing," he said, "how quickly we can do things when everyone works together." Mira smiled at him. "That's the power of unity. Each small effort builds into something far greater than any one person could achieve." The Alliance's realization, the Galactic Alliance could no longer ignore the humans. The scholar Enren had warned them repeatedly, but it took months for their leaders to understand the depth of humanity's growth. On Avara, the council gathered, this time uneasy and silent. Admiral Vorthal spoke first. "Humans have not attacked us, yet their influence grows. We cannot contain it. They repair, they create, they unite without weapons. How do we measure them?" Ambassador Thera admitted reluctantly. "They are remarkable, and we underestimated them." Scholar Enren smiled quietly. "You always do. The galaxy will remember this lesson. Humanity does not rise by force, they rise by persistence, by learning, and by the courage to hope. That is what makes them unstoppable." A symbol across the stars as Operation Radiant Tide continued. Humanity reached beyond the solar system. Firefly ships traveled to distant colonies and neutral systems, sharing messages of peace, knowledge, and cooperation. On a small planet near the edge of known space, a settlement had been struggling for decades. When humans arrived, they did not take control. Instead, they repaired water systems, restored energy grids, and shared agricultural techniques. Within months, the settlement was thriving. One of the settlers, an elderly engineer, looked at the Firefly pilot and said softly, "We thought humans were gone. But you've reminded us that hope never dies. You've shown us what we can do together. The pilot smiled. It's not just us. It's all of humanity working together. That's our strength. News of these peaceful victories spread quickly, and soon, humans were welcomed on planets that had long been isolated or wary of outsiders. The turning tide becomes a flood with every new success. More systems joined the human rebirth network. Communication satellites connected distant worlds. Trade routes opened quietly but efficiently. Education programs began to share knowledge of Earth, its history, and its innovations. In one hidden base, Mira watched a simulation showing the influence of humanity expanding like ripples on a pond. The dots representing human presence grew steadily, touching new systems each week. Dr. Kaito looked over her shoulder. Soon will be impossible to ignore, he said. Mira's voice was steady, filled with quiet determination. That's the point. We don't need to dominate. We only need to exist, to create, to teach, and to inspire. The galaxy will respect us not because we are violent, but because we are persistent, clever, and kind. Recognition at last finally. The Alliance could no longer pretend humans were defeated. A council of representatives approached Captain Mira and her team, not with weapons, but with an invitation to join the interstellar community. Mira stood before the council hall on Avara, flanked by Dr. Kaito, Leo, and Athena's holographic interface. The alien leaders watched silently as she spoke. We have survived, Mira began, her voice calm but firm. We have rebuilt. We have created, learned, and shared with those who will listen. Humanity does not seek to dominate the stars through fear or destruction. We seek to participate, to cooperate, and to grow alongside all beings in this galaxy. Our spirit is what defines us, not our weapons, and it is that spirit that has returned. The Alien Council, once skeptical and dismissive, listened. They could no longer deny the truth. Humanity had returned not as a threat, but as a force of intelligence, creativity, and hope. A new era. The human colonies, now united under the Human Rebirth Network, became centers of learning, exploration, and cooperation. Firefly fleets moved freely, delivering aid, sharing knowledge, and connecting isolated systems. Children studied Earth's history alongside advanced sciences. Engineers repaired abandoned stations. Artists and musicians shared human culture across planets. The galaxy had not seen humanity like this before. United, wise, and inspiring. Mira walked across Haven 1 one evening, watching her people work. She paused to look at the stars above the ruined city. Once they had been dark and quiet. Now humanity reached upward, touching planets and stars far beyond Earth. Dr. Kaito joined her. We've done it, he said softly. Mira shook her head with a small smile. Not yet. This is only the beginning. The galaxy has recognized us. But we must continue to show who we are, through every action, every discovery, and every human life we inspire. A final message to mark the moment? Mira sent one final broadcast, not a warning, not a challenge, but a message of unity. To every being who watches the stars, humanity has returned. We have survived the darkest times and learned that persistence, intelligence, and cooperation can overcome any challenge. We do not conquer, we create. We do not destroy, we build. We extend our hand in friendship to all who wish to join us. The stars belong to those who dare to hope. The message traveled across space, reaching colonies, neutral worlds, and even the edges of Alliance-controlled regions. It was a declaration, not of war, but of life, courage, and unity. Somewhere, in the outer reaches, a child listened to the signal and whispered, "We're not alone. We're never alone." Humanity's legacy. Years later, historians would record the story of how humanity rose from near extinction. They would tell of the fall, the hidden bases, the Firefly fleets, and the quiet victories that changed the galaxy. But above all, they would remember the lesson, that humans are defined not by force or power, but by the strength of their spirit, their ingenuity, and their hope. Captain Mira Solon, now older and wiser, stood on a hill outside Haven 1, watching a new generation of humans prepare for their first journey to a distant planet. Leo, now a lead engineer, joined her. "Do you ever wonder what the Alliance thinks of us now?" he asked. Mira smiled, looking at the stars. "They finally understand. Humans don't give up. We adapt, we rise, and we shine in the darkest times. That's who we are." Above them, the stars seemed to sparkle a little brighter. The galaxy had seen humanity's return, and it would never forget it. And so, the tide had turned, not with weapons or conquest, but with heart, mind, and spirit. Humanity had reclaimed its place among the stars, not as a defeated species, but as a symbol of hope, courage, and the unbreakable power of life. The dawn of hope had come, and the galaxy would never be the same.